Welcome back, all you deities and dinosaurs, to Blastoise's Lair MetaZoo gameplay, strategy, and deck tech. Please do me a favor. Be sure to like and subscribe if you like what you see, and comment below on any alterations or builds you'd like to see to this deck or any other decks that you have in your mind. All info that you're going to find here can be found at the website www.blastoiseslairtcg.com and on our social media Instagram handle at blastoiseslair. Today's deck profile is going to be a dual aura control build. I got worms. That's what we're going to call it. I got worms. I Got Worms turns the arena into your personal worm farm thanks to the mill and tribal boost abilities afforded to the ice and cement worms. With the ability to find and contract your worms early and often, you will lean on slowing down the game state to take full advantage of this crippling deck. As you set up and establish enough worms, you will utilize effective and efficient ground spells like Boulder Bash and Rock Rain to keep the board clean. While your worms are burrowed, Icy Path's ability to keep your opponent on edge and wary of attacks will be to the worm's benefit until you can find Slide Rock Bolter or Kushtaka and deploy their unique abilities, slowly freezing your opponents out of their aura. Okay, let's quickly review a deck profile here. As previously stated, this is a control deck, 5 out of 5. Similarly, on the reverse side, from an aggression standpoint, this is going to be a 1 out of 5. We're really going to wait out the opponents here and try to kind of eat their aura until they have no moves left. What is interesting about this deck, I did give it a 5 out of 5 for the ramp. For it being a duel or a deck, it ramps extremely well, given most of these are really low-cost beasties and spells, and the Stalactites added ability to be able to be tapped for an Earth aura. From a consistency standpoint, one of the reasons I love this build, and a lot of people run similar builds to this, it's so consistent. I gave it a 5 out of 5. Even with it being a duel or a deck, the ability to find other worms based off of the Ice Worm's ability and lock people up short term with Cement Worm is really going to be to your advantage. And then last, from a budget standpoint, a 1 out of 5 here. Almost all these cards are pretty low cost, with the exception of some of the auras like Prism and Neutrality, but those can easily be substituted. Okay, first we're going to start with a little beastie breakdown, and as indicated by the name, the bulk of the work of this spellbook is going to be done by the worms. The combo powers of the Ice and Cement Worm. While both are integral, Ice Worm is slightly more important given its ability, which we'll read through here, its contractability. You may search your spellbook for Beastie Worm with 3 or less aura and place it into your chapter. It also says when in the arena, if there are 4 or more Beastie Worms you control have tribal boost worm. Tribal boost for Beastie Worm. So this is important for a few reasons. So obviously you can find and contract another ice worm to kind of continue to pull out more worms. But also you can, since it's simply based off of the tribal name, you can pull out your cement worms as well. And what's nice about both of these is they both have burrow. And given that both have the ice worms have the arena effect, you're not going to want to attack immediately with either your ice worms or your cement worms. You're going to want to wait until you have at least 4 in the arena to start to inflict real damage, because then essentially each one of your ice worms is going to be boosted an additional 40 to 50 life points and hit points, depending on how many other cement or ice worms you have in the arena. If you're only able to come across the cement worm early in game, it's definitely, don't fret. This guy is also great at slowing down the game with a few of his abilities. First, the arena ability, beasties with fleet come in fatigued. You're also able to tap this to have opposing beasties lose stone skin. But the real ability here is within its attack. It says, if this attack damaged a caster, target aura page does not awaken until the end of the next turn. So this is where your stall game starts. If you can only find cement worms early in the game and aren't able to mill with your ice worms, you can essentially freeze them out of one of their aura. Hopefully it's a prism aura that they have tapped, that will not awaken at the end of the next turn. So if you're in the first couple of turns, this can be pretty crippling. And then if you're also able to get a couple of cement worms onto the board, you're going to stack up 2-3 opposing aura that are fatigued every time, which is really tough to overcome. If your worms don't overrun the game early, you'll really rely on this guy mid-game. This guy is one of my favorite beasties. He goes under the radar. Kushtaka, Beastie Sasquatch. He comes in for 2 frost and 1 neutral, but he's got one of the craziest powers in the game, Shapeshift. Kushtaka does not have to be fatigued to activate this power, so first of all, wow. Choose 1 attack on any beastie in the arena. Shapeshift becomes the chosen attack, including damage, effect, and any strength it has until the end of this turn. So this is important for a few reasons. So one, first of all, it's similar to Walking Sam, I guess, where you can almost kind of like copycat another beastie in the arena. But what's extra nice is including the notation here, including damage effects and any strengths it has. So you're going to get the tribal boost if you decide to shapeshift an ice worm, and you're going to get that additional damage that the ice worm is swinging for thanks to Kushtaka's shapeshift ability. And for only being a 3-drop, you know, and 70 life points, he's a crazy beastie to try to deal with. All right, the last beastie on this masterpiece is the beautiful Slide Rock Bolter. So 6-drop, you know, obviously he's beefy, but this guy is the ultimate game ender. If deployed correctly, he's going to slowly eat your opponent's aura until they're frozen out of anything that they can do. So let me quickly read through his move here. Landslide. Target opposing page in combat does not awaken at the start of its controller's next turn. You may place an aura page you control into the afterlife and give landslide plus 30 damage. So that's just his normal attack. If you choose to swing at 60, potentially more at beastie or caster. What we're really here for is Groundbreaker. Slide Rock Bolter loses 30 life points, which he's got 170, so who really cares? And then you're able to, at any time, place target aura page into the afterlife. Wow. So you're basically just going to inflict 30 damage on Slide Rock Bolter's life points here and basically ditch all of their aura. While you laugh, all your worms are burrowed, and then they have nothing left to do, and you just swing for 100 plus with ice worms and Kushtaka. It's really devastating if you're able to get Slide Rock Bolter out, especially early in game, when they only have like say 3 or 4 aura on the board. It turns into a pretty quick scoop. Okay, for a quick spell profile here, these spells are in the spellbook are some of my favorite for sure. Earth spells by nature are tough, but these are some of the best beastie crushers, which you'll definitely need as you find at least 4 worms so you can inflict that tribal boost. Boulder Bash is super versatile. It's going to let you swing for 50 life points at 1 beastie or 25 life points at 2, which helps for quick board cleanups. And then Rock Rain, it's going to let you adjust the damage inflicted. So if you have a specific beastie you're trying to pick off in a number of aura that you're able to play and fatigue, it's pretty situational, but can be very helpful when there's higher LP beasties on the board that are Boulder Bash aren't going to get you alone. And then you could also, pair them and really kind of go upwards of maybe 100 if needed. Last, if those earth spells aren't enough to keep things under control, of course, we had to include Icy Path since it's a dual or a frost deck as well. Love Icy Path. I could put the full playset in here, but at 2 cost, it's a great card to keep in your hand. Sit back and play the board knowing that their beasties are going to be attacked and you're essentially going to nullify that. And then potentially inflict additional damage, which they didn't expect. Icy Path is endlessly frustrating for sure to play against, and often will make casters be more hesitant to swing in specific situations, especially if you maybe even bluff and leave some aura left unfatigued to kind of make them think about it. Okay, we'll check in on the artifacts and aura breakdown here. Despite this being a dual aura deck, the spellbook runs super smooth thanks to the worm search installability, as well as stalactites supplemental support here. So this is a great artifact. This artifact has the ability to act as a defender, further helping with stall tactics to get ice worms and slide rock bolter out, but also has the convertibility, which means, if you're aura dry, you can tap it to help bring out a cement worm or an ice worm. Typically, I play it face up and take advantage of the aura and defender ability, but it can also be played as a trap to protect, a valuable page. The last kicker on this great artifact is when it's finally destroyed, it allows you to shuffle a ground spell out of your cemetery into your spell book, effectively recycling a boulder bash or a rock rain if available. Other than that, we've included a neutrality totality to help get some of those ice worms, Kushtaka, and slide rock bolter out quicker. With the rest of the aura, we're leaning a little heavier on the ice side than the frost, given that slide rock is the beefier of the beasties to pull out here. Okay, last here we'll hit on some weaknesses, some side deck options, as well as some budget comments. I do love this spellbook's ramp with the mill ability and the typical consistency of a frost or control deck that you're going to see. But similar to most control builds, they are susceptible to early game and against heavy aggro spellbooks. So typically we don't talk a lot about aura advantage either on these kind of deck builds, but something to keep in mind here with Flame having type advantage on Frost and typically being more aggressive spell-based decks, which might not be great matchups for this specific build. While it has beat aura advantage decks like Flame and Water, there's also an off chance a low cost beastie heavy type of opponent can swarm and overwhelm before you have the ability to lock out the board. So, decks like Fearsome Critters or aliens might cause some trouble. This spellbook is a little light on beasties, to be honest, to focus specifically on getting those worms out as quickly as possible. But if your opponent is able to destroy them or unburrow them somehow, you might run out of steam before you're able to get the most out of those synergies in this spellbook. As I mentioned earlier, a few more Kushtakas could never hurt. There's only 2. You can have up to 4 in the spellbook, and even an option for a more traditional Frost spellbook, like Pomola would be great here, who's only a 3-cost beastie and is a lot to handle given it has flight and is a spirit. From a budget standpoint, this spellbook, along with Forest Thunder, which we profiled a couple weeks ago, are some of the lowest cost budget options that we've posted so far. Once again, similar to Forest Thunder, the most costly cards are going to be the auras, the prism, and the neutrality. These definitely aren't a must for the deck to run properly. My suggestions would be, either substitute a few auras out, both earth and frost for the prisms, and maybe even an eternal snowflake in replacement of the neutrality, and you can get a little more frost action there, and even maybe play a few more frost beasties. Depending on your beastie mix, you could swap the aura either way, honestly, as well as potentially include some Terras, which we didn't, but, Overgrown City would be a good play, given it has the arena ability or the contract ability. Each caster may search their spellbook for a basic aura page and place it into the arena fatigued. So you're going to be able to search for a frost or an earth aura, and then ground is just going to boost up most of your beasties here. But we didn't include those in the actual 40 card list test build, but would be great additions as well. Okay, appreciate your eyeballs and enjoying this dual aura deck. I got worms. If you have any other thoughts or questions or want any more information on this deck, like I said earlier, it can be found at our website, blastoiseslayer.tcg.com, or on Instagram at blastoiseslayer. Next week, we will be coming back with a little fishy focus. Everybody getting geared up for the water towers. We're gonna bust open our first water deck. It's not going to be water tower eligible, but we're gonna be starting to focus a little bit more on water, given we haven't had any of those in the features yet. So please be sure to join in next time for the frozen fish feature. All right, peace out, everybody. Hope you guys have a good one.